night, so we got some stories here on Reddit today that I'm going to read, so why don't we jump on into it. When I was 7 or 8, I had a very strange experience. During the summers, I'd spend a lot of time at my grandparents' house. My grandpa used my mom's old room as his computer room. He had a desk just inside the bedroom door. He always left the door open and would spend several hours in there playing solitaire and looking at classic cars online. They had a next-door neighbor who was a lifelong friend that would come over every afternoon. And the three of them would just sit outside on the front porch and talk. Right before the neighbor arrived, my grandpa had been on his computer for several hours. We were all out on the porch, and my grandpa asked me to go inside and pour him a glass of iced tea. I did, and when I passed his computer room on the way back outside, I glanced over and he was sitting in his computer chair. I could see the light from the computer screen on his face and glasses, even though it was turned off. There was a static look to him, and I could see glitches on him. Best way to explain it. I froze and stared for 3 to 4 seconds. He never made eye contact and disappeared. I took the tea outside to him, and he was just in his porch chair and had been the whole time. What happened? Creepy dam exploration at night gone wrong. This story happened, I want to say a year or two ago. Me, my friend Joe, and his friend Michael, and another friend of theirs named Raven, the four of us went to this old abandoned dam in Otay, East Lake area in San Diego. It was really dark, and we brought flashlights to use, or our phone flashlights. The light of the city glowed in the distance. So we descended these rocks into the wet area below the dam, and it was cool looking, lots of flowing water and stuff. And then we climbed to one other side of the dam, and we climbed up top, and there was like this canal space on the other side with lots of graffiti and spray paint that we messed around with for a bit. We were spraying this already graffiti walls and kicking the cans around and throwing them around and just having ourselves a little party. But this is where stuff started going wrong. So we see this soft bluish white light a little ways away from us, like down and away from the dam kind of, and across the pond. It seemed like a lantern, and someone was just sitting there holding it. I think we might have seen it when we entered the site too. Whoever the person was, they were sitting in the tall grass next to the pond, about 30 feet away from where we parked our car. We were kind of just joking around about the light, and I think we might have even yelled hi to them from the top of the dam or something. They seemed to gently wave the light back and forth a few times, possibly acknowledging us, but I can't be sure. I'm not sure why we weren't more creeped out by it, because this person was just sitting there with nothing but a little lantern, with no vehicle, nothing. We couldn't even see who they were. All we could tell was that it appeared to be someone swaying a lamp around. And this was pretty far out from town. I can't imagine why someone would just choose to spend their time there completely alone in the dark. So anyway, we began to make our way back to the rocks and to the trail towards our car, but Raven lost her phone, so we spent like an hour there searching for it. We never found it. We tried calling it and everything, but there was no finding it. It was like it had just vanished into thin air. Raven was sad. It was probably like 1 a.m. by the time we left, and I don't remember if we saw the lantern in the bush near our car when we got back, but I think we might have, because we were creeped out by that point. It was a cozy car ride back home, though. Whatever it was, they were sitting there in complete darkness, alone for hours, just watching us. This happened when I was 17, and to this day, I still can't explain it. I live in a relatively quiet area. Nothing unusual ever happens here. No creepy urban legends, no abandoned hospitals, nothing. That's probably why that happened felt so wrong. A few years ago, my parents left town for a family event. I stayed home alone because I had exams coming up. The first night was completely normal. The second night wasn't. Around 1:40 a.m., I was studying in my room when I heard 3 slow knocks on my bedroom door. I immediately looked up. The problem was that my room was upstairs and I was completely alone in the house. I sat there frozen. A few seconds passed. Nothing. I convinced myself that the sound had come from outside and went back to studying. Then it happened again. This time it was louder. It sounded exactly like someone was standing outside my bedroom. I slowly walked to the door and opened it. The hallway was empty. No movement, no sound, nothing. I checked every room in the house. Nobody. Every door and window was locked. I felt uneasy, but eventually I told myself it was just a house settling. Around 3 a.m., I finally went to bed. At some point during the night, I woke up for no reason. The room was completely dark. Then I noticed something. My bedroom door was open, just a few inches. I always lock my door before sleeping. Always. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The hall outside was empty, but something felt wrong. I don't know how to explain it. It felt like someone had been standing there moments before I woke up, watching me. The next morning, I checked the lock. It worked perfectly. I started to think maybe I had forgotten to lock it, maybe. The third night was when everything got worse. Around 2 a.m., my dog started growling. Not barking, growling, a deep, aggressive growl I'd never heard before. He was staring directly at my bedroom door. His eyes never moved. I looked towards the door. Nothing was there. But he kept growling. His fur was standing up. Then suddenly he backed away and hid under my desk. I've had that dog for years. I've seen him around fireworks, thunderstorms, and strangers. I had never seen him scared, not once. About 10 minutes later, I heard footsteps, slow footsteps, coming downstairs. One step, another step. I was terrified. I grabbed a cricket bat and called my friend. I kept him on speaker while I checked the house. The footsteps stopped the moment I left my room. Every room was empty. Every door was still locked. I checked the front door. Locked. Back door, locked. Windows, locked. Nothing. I went back upstairs. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. My bedroom chair had moved. Not by a few inches. It was on the opposite side of the room. I know exactly where it had been because my backpack was hanging on it. The backpack was now laying on the floor. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I decided to check something. My phone automatically records motion through a security app I use as a baby monitor. I opened the recordings from the previous night. There were dozens of clips. Most showed nothing. Then I found one recorded at 2:37 a.m. The video began with my room completely empty. Then after about 10 seconds, the camera microphone picked up a whisper. A very faint whisper. At first, I couldn't understand it. I increased the volume. I wish I hadn't. The voice sounded close to the phone, closer than any person should have been. It whispered, "He's awake." 3 words. That's all. The recording ended immediately afterwards. No person appeared in the video, no movement, nothing, just those words. I showed the clip to my parents when they came home. My father assumed it was interference. My mom refused to listen to it more than once. A few days later, I deleted the recording because it genuinely disturbed me. Nothing major ever happened after that. No more knocks, no more footsteps, no more whispers. But sometimes, years later, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and remember that recording. That part still bothers me. Isn't the voice. It's what it said, not "I'm awake," not "who's there," not even my name. It sounded like 2 people were having a conversation, and one of them noticed that I had opened my eyes. He's awake, which means there was supposed to be someone else there. I've never really told this story online because every time I think about it, I get the same uneasy feeling I had that night. This happened about 6 years ago when I was coming back home from a friend's house. It was late, somewhere around 1 a.m., and I decided to take a shortcut through a quiet road that passed near a large field. I had walked that route dozens of times before, so I wasn't worried about it. That night was unusually silent. There were no cars, no dogs barking, not even the sound of insects. About halfway down the road, I noticed someone standing near the edge of that field. At first, I assumed it was just another person walking home, but as I got closer, I realized they weren't moving at all. They were just standing there, facing in my direction. Something about it felt wrong. I couldn't make out any details because it was dark, but I could tell the figure was unusually tall. I kept walking, trying not to stare. When I finally passed the spot where I had seen it, I glanced over. The figure was gone. I immediately stopped and looked around. There was nowhere it could have disappeared to in just a few seconds. The field was open for hundreds of feet, and there were no trees or buildings nearby. I remember feeling a chill run through my body, but I convinced myself that I was tired and imagining things. Then I heard footsteps behind me. They weren't loud, but they were clear enough to hear on the empty road. I turned around expecting to see someone, but there was no one there. The footsteps stopped the moment I turned. I stood still for a few seconds, listening. Nothing. As soon as I started walking again, the footsteps returned. This happened 3 times. Walk, footsteps, silence, stop. At that point, I was genuinely scared. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight. The road behind me was completely empty. I started walking faster, and the footsteps seemed to match my pace. I didn't look back again. I just kept moving. When my house finally came into view, I felt relieved. I hurried to the front gate, unlocked it, and stepped inside. Before closing the gate, I looked down the street one last time. Someone was standing there. The figure was at the far end of the road, completely still. Even from that distance, I could tell it was unusually tall. What I remember most clearly is that it seemed darker than the darkness around it, almost like a shadow that didn't belong there. I slammed the gate shut and rushed inside. I didn't sleep much that night. Alright, so that was today's video. I hope you enjoyed these stories like I have. Thank you for the people that allowed me to read these stories. And for next week's video, for one of the Reddit Reads video, I was actually thinking of doing a Reddit no sleep stories because I find that subreddit interesting. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in that. Like, comment, and subscribe. It does help the channel out a lot. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.